Hello Eurovision friends, thank you so much for coming to my channel Eurovision Histories. In this video today I want to analyze the semi-final allocation draw which happened yesterday. We now know which countries will compete in which semi-finals and also which half of which semi-final. And in this video I want to look at the history of these different countries, their qualification rates in the last 10 years, or I should say editions, because 2020 of course was cancelled, and kind of try to predict based on historical results how these countries will do in 2025. I know we already have a few songs for Albania and Montenegro, for example, but this is really purely based on statistics because I'm a huge nerd. And at the end of the video, I will also tell you with facts which of the two semifinals is harder to qualify from, because lots of fans like to talk about this. And then you can have the real facts and, in arguments with other fans, use that to your advantage. So let's look at the qualification rates of all of these countries in semifinal one, going from the lowest to the highest. In last place, we have San Marino with only a 30% qualification rate in the last 10 editions, last qualification in 2021, and they have a streak of 3 non-qualifications. That's the 3 red arrows you can see there. If it's a qualification streak, it will be green error. So San Marino has not been doing that well. They don't have that many friends either voting for them. So we shall see what happens this year. Then we have Iceland with only a 40% qualification rate, last qualification in 2022, and a 2 non-qualification streak. Then we have Croatia. You might be surprised, they have been doing really well in the last 2 editions, 2 iconic songs they sent to Eurovision, and they're on a really good trajectory, but only a 40% qualification rate in the last 10 editions. They only participated in the last 8. And last qualification, sorry, that's a mistake, should say 2024, of course. Then we have Albania, a 50% qualification rate, so really 50-50. Estonia, 60%, 3 qualifications in a row now, so on a good trajectory as well. Slovenia, 60% as well, quite similar, a lot of these countries. Same thing for Poland and also for Belgium. So yeah, we shall see whether these 4 can make it this year as well. Then Portugal has really been on a great streak with 4 consecutive qualifications, the last obviously then in 2024, and a 63% qualification rate. Then we have Azerbaijan. They have been on a bit of a more negative trajectory in recent years, but overall, looking at the last 10 editions, they have qualified 7 out of 10 times. Pretty good, but 2 non-qualifications in a row now. Then we have the Netherlands, a potential powerhouse. They did qualify last year and then something happened. Let's not get into that again. 78% qualification rate for the Netherlands. By the way, it says 7 out of 9 because, of course, after Duncan Lawrence's win, they didn't have to qualify. Then we have Cyprus with 88% qualification rate. Really good, actually. I was a bit surprised by that. But if you think back at the last Cypriot entries, they have been doing really well. Norway, a real powerhouse. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive qualifications. That's really impressive, and a 90% qualification rate. And it should obviously also say last qualification 2024. Sorry, I did these while watching Benidorm last night, and well. Then we have Sweden, great qualification rate, 100%, 8 out of 8 times when they had to qualify. The 2 times they didn't have to qualify obviously were times that they won. And again, last qualification 2023 is correct in this case because Marcus and Martinez did not have to qualify last year, obviously. And then we have Ukraine with the most impressive qualification record of all countries because they have never not qualified and are on an impressive streak as well. And obviously they qualified last year as well. Sorry about the mistakes. Now, if you put this into a graphic, and if you have been to this channel, you know this graphic, the closer to the top a country's flag is, the more likely it is to qualify. The closer to the bottom, unfortunately, the less likely. And then you have this dotted line there, which is the line between qualification and non-qualification. So this is basically the qualification rate shown in a graphic. And now we will do a few things. Because it is always better, especially in a televote-only semifinal, which this these semifinals this year will be again to be in the second half of the semifinal because people remember you more. There's recency bias. They will just have the song stuck in their head still and might have forgotten about the first few songs. So the first thing I'm going to do is give a push to all the countries that perform in the second half. There you go. So that helps Norway, Netherlands, Azerbaijan, for example. And then we will talk about the voting blocks. There are obviously countries that usually vote for each other for various different reasons, whether it be cultural or because there's a big diaspora group in that country. But I want to do that, and I want to start with Portugal. I think they got a pretty good deal with this, especially with the three countries that you see in the corner there voting in the semifinal. Especially Switzerland and Spain will probably support Portugal. Switzerland has a huge Portuguese diaspora, and Spain obviously is a neighbor. Italy might also help Portugal quite a bit, and they might have some support from Belgium as well. So I'm going to move Portugal up a little bit. Then I think that Albania also got a pretty good deal. Not too many neighbors, but maybe they will get some support from Slovenia and Croatia. But especially the fact that Switzerland, which has a huge diaspora, will be voting in the semifinal, and also Italy. I think these are probably the two countries with the biggest diaspora. So that's why I'm moving Albania. Now, a country I want to move down just a little bit is Cyprus, because, and I moved the Albanian flag a little bit just so it looks a bit better, just because their big friend Greece is not in the semifinal again, like last year, and that doesn't help them all that much otherwise. I also think that maybe the UK and Ireland not being in the semifinal might not be the best thing for Cyprus in this case. Then I want to move, let's look again at that. I want to move up Poland and Ukraine because they like their music usually. I will move up the Netherlands and Belgium, and also Slovenia and Croatia, and that gives you this. And then next up, I will move down Poland a teeny tiny bit because Lithuania is not in the semifinal, Germany is not in the semifinal, the UK and Ireland are not in the semifinal, and that is not great news for Poland. Lots of Polish people live in all these countries and in the past have voted for the song. These countries have voted for the Polish song. That's why I moved it down just a little bit. And then last but not least, I want to move up all the countries that are on a good trajectory, like Ukraine, Norway, Sweden, but also Croatia, and move down the countries that are not on a great trajectory. So let's do that. Especially Iceland, for example, hasn't been. I'll show you that again. Iceland hasn't been on the greatest trajectory, and San Marino either. And that gives you this. Ukraine is barely visible anymore because they have such good statistics for qualification. So the 10 qualifiers will probably be Ukraine, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Azerbaijan, Cyprus, Portugal, Albania, Belgium probably, and then one of the three, Poland, Slovenia, and Estonia. Of course, a lot depends on the song. Croatia might be able to qualify with a great song. But when you just look at the statistics, I would say that this is the most likely outcome at this moment. In the first half, we have Armenia, Australia, Greece, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Montenegro, and Austria. And in the second half, a bit better off, we have Denmark, Finland, Georgia, Israel, Luxembourg, Malta, Serbia, and the Czech Republic. And you can see that Czechia, I should say, that France, Germany, and the United Kingdom will be voting in this semifinal, which again is a bit important for the voting blocks and groups. So again, let's go from the lowest, the country with the lowest qualification rate to the country with the highest qualification rate. We have Ireland with only 20%. Of course, they qualified last year, but the rest of their track record doesn't look all that great. Then we have Montenegro with 5 consecutive non-qualifications. They haven't been participating for a few years in the last couple of years, but 2 out of 7 times they managed to qualify. Last qualification is way back in 2015, so let's hope that they can make it this year. Then Latvia as well, breaking their non-qualification streak with Dons last year, but still only a 30% qualification rate. Georgia, same thing, 30%. Then we have Denmark with a slightly higher qualification rate, but unfortunately a 4 non-qualification streak. So 3 out of 9 times they qualified. And the last time they did was in 2019. That's before the pandemic, just to make it more understandable to you what that means. Malta, 40%, pretty okay, but three consecutive non-qualifications, unfortunately. Czechia, 56%, kind of 50-50, a bit like Albania in semifinal one. Then we have Finland with a 60% qualification rate, and that's mostly based on the last 4 years. As you can see, 4-year qualification streak. Well done. They're on a great trajectory with their national final. And there are a few songs in this year's national final that also seem like they would be pretty sure qualifiers. So Finland is really one to watch every year now. Then we have Austria with a 67% qualification rate, also pretty good. Greece, 70%, also pretty good, but I think mostly in the first 5 years and not in the last 5 years. Then we have Lithuania with a great track record as well, 70%, but a 4-year qualification streak. Australia has 75%, 6 out of 8 times they managed to qualify. Israel has a 78% chance, already above 75%. Then we have Armenia as well with 75%. Serbia with 88% and a very impressive streak, as you can see, 6 qualifications in a row. Yeah, I think so. And it should say 2024 again. Sorry for the mistake for the last qualification. And then last but not least, I think we have Luxembourg, which is kind of a problem because we only have one entry in the last 10 editions from Luxembourg and they managed to qualify. So that gives you 100%. But later on, I will talk about how I kind of evened that out because that's a bit unfair to give Luxembourg 100%. So as you might remember that in the first semifinal, we had a bunch of countries with a qualification rate higher than 75%. And now we had very few and quite a few below 35, 40%. So that already gives you an idea that semifinal 2 might be a bit weaker and a bit easier to qualify from. So if we put that into a graphic, we get this. Luxembourg all the way on top, followed by Serbia, Armenia, Israel, Australia. And on the very bottom, we have, unfortunately, Latvia, Georgia, Montenegro, and Ireland. So like in semifinal 1, I want to give a bump to all the countries that perform in the second half. Let's do that right away. Quite a few profit from that. And then the first thing I want to do is to lower Luxembourg a little bit. We only have one single entry. They did manage to qualify, but maybe this year, if they don't make it, their qualification rate will be at 50%. And so to even that out a little bit, I'm going to lower the flag to where Finland is, roundabout. Next up, I want to increase Armenia's chances a little bit because they got a pretty good deal with France, especially in the semifinal. Also Germany, the UK, I think. And then also Greece and Georgia, their neighbors. So I think this is a pretty good semifinal for Armenia. I also wanted to switch up Lithuania's position because they have gotten kind of the best deal of all countries, I think, because they have Ireland, the UK, Germany, countries with a big diaspora, but they also have their neighbors Latvia. There's Finland in there. So I would actually increase Lithuania's chances quite significantly. Then we have Serbia and Montenegro. So I'm going to increase their chances a little bit. They're probably going to like each other's songs. Also Latvia, because again, the UK and Ireland are in there, Germany as well, and their neighbors, Lithuania as well. So let's give them a bit of a bump. And then I want to increase the countries with a good trajectory. These are mostly Serbia, Lithuania, and Finland who have qualified over the last couple of years. So I'm giving them a bump. And then Malta, Denmark, and one more, I don't remember, Montenegro, have had a bit of a bad luck, streak of bad luck. So I'm lowering their chances just a little bit. And that gives us this. When we just look at statistic and history, probably the qualifiers will be Lithuania, Armenia, Israel, Serbia, Australia, Luxembourg, Finland, Greece, Austria, and Czechia. And the non-qualifiers, you can see them there, would be Malta, Denmark, Latvia, Georgia, Montenegro, and Ireland. Now, this whole discussion, which semifinal is stronger, which is weaker, I made the average of all the qualification rates, and semifinal one has an incredible average. It's 65.9% average qualification rate, so it's a very, very strong semi. It's much stronger also than both semis were last year. And semifinal number two has a 54.6% average qualification rate, so it's much easier to qualify from semifinal two than from semifinal one. That is all I wanted to talk about. Thank you for listening to my ramblings about all of this. Do subscribe to this channel. I will be doing predictions for the semifinals once we know all the songs, once we know the full running order as well. So if you don't want to miss that, you should subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much, and see you for my next one. Bye bye.